From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Well, security gang, welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast. Let me just get this camera a bit more adjusted here. I'm pre-recording this morning's episode. Obviously, final night of mine and the final day here at Hackers Summer Camp before DEF CON kicks off. And really kind of the tail end of, B-sides and then, the big conference that goes on here and DEF CON and so forth. And so a lot happening. Really been so great seeing so many awesome people. A lot of you tuning in, watching the show. I'm pre-recording it. It's Wednesday night. So if by the time I record this to the time this airs, something happened, I'm sorry. But I tried to get as much as possible and the show's packed. So let's go ahead and get going. I'm obviously not in the studio. And I haven't had a decent espresso since I've been in Vegas, which is something to say about coffee in Vegas. But without further ado, if you're at home or wherever you are, coffee cup cheers. Let's go ahead and get the show going here. We'll start off with a presentation that took place today at Hacker Summer Camp by Alon Leviev, a Safebreach Labs researcher, calling urgent attention to gaps in Microsoft Windows Update architecture, essentially warning that attackers can launch software downgrade attacks that make the term fully patched meaningless on any Windows machine in the world. The presentation that took place today in beautiful Las Vegas showed, Leviev actually showed live how he was able to take over a Windows update process, craft custom downgrades on critical OS components, elevate privileges, and bypass security features. He was able to make a fully patched Windows machine susceptible to thousands of past vulnerabilities, turning fixed vulnerabilities into 0 days. The Israeli researchers also said he found ways to manipulate an action list XML file to push a Windows downdate tool that bypasses all verification steps, including integrity verification and trusted installer enforcement. In an interview that he gave to the folks over at Security Week, Leviev said that the tool is capable of downgrading essential OS components that caused the OS to falsely report that it's fully updated. He said it was motivated after discovering the backlotus UEFI bootkit software downgrade component essentially from there. Microsoft and Durand are saying the company is developing a security update that will revoke outdated unpatched VPS system files to mitigate the threat, but due to the complexity of blocking such a large quantity of file, rigorous testing is required to avoid integration failures or regressions. Microsoft plans to publish a CVE today at some point alongside Leviev's presentation and will provide customers with mitigations or relevant risk reduction. Saw the story, been looking for it. It's not out yet. It's nearly midnight here in Vegas on Wednesday night, so they obviously didn't meet this deadline. Once they have it, though, I'll make sure to share it. Likely it'll be Monday once we're back in the studio. The FBI and CISO on their end are warning about the Royal ransomware that rebranded to Blacksuit and that have demanded over $500 million from victims since it emerged more than 2 years ago. The new information was shared on a joint advisory update published in March of 2023 and later updated and previously been active since September of 2022. However, this private group is believed to be a direct successor of the Conti cybercrime syndicate and started as Quantum Ransomware back in January of 2022. They've attacked the city of Dallas. They've attacked a whole bunch of different organizations. All in all, $500 million. So there's that there. CrowdStrike going away and giving customers more control over how to deploy content updates to the company's Falcon sensor endpoint security technology following the incident that crashed 8.5 million Windows devices worldwide. The security vendor, which I'll tell you this, like here in Vegas, they've had a beautiful message on. I took a picture of it. I wish I would have actually added it here so y'all could see it. That like something really good, like we're all in this together. I don't know. I can't be, every CISO conversation I've been in, every we talk about CrowdStrike and what happened, and really could happen to anyone. And at the end of the day, this only had impact because CrowdStrike has been so successful. It's happened to every other endpoint at some point or another. It's just never been at scale because they're not as successful as CrowdStrike is. And so that's why we feel this one more than ever. CrowdStrike now giving customers more control over it. Smart thing to do by CrowdStrike, obviously, and George Kurtz continues to be at the forefront of this. Also, in Black Hat, also at Hacker Summer Camp, an analysis conducted by Census shows that more than 40,000 internet-exposed ICS devices in the U.S. Are really vulnerable. Census pointed out that more than half of these systems are likely associated with building control and automation, and roughly 18,000 are actually used to control industrial systems. The company also found that more than half of the hosts are running low-level automation protocols, which enables communication between ICS, are concentrated in wireless and consumer access networks like Comcast and Verizon. In case of HMIs, which are used to monitor and control industrial systems, 80% are in networks provided by companies like AT&T and Verizon. The fact that they're hosted on wireless or consumer networks means it's likely not possible to contact the owner and warn them about the exposure there. But all in all, a group of alleged hacktivists calling themselves the Cyber Army of Russia Reborn caused a small Texas town's water system to overflow by essentially hacking it. In addition, China-linked Volt Typhoon's been doing what they do. So all in all, you're obviously seeing more there as well. The SEC said they've concluded their investigation into Progress Software's handling of the widespread exploitation of the MOVEit transfer zero-day flaw that exposed over the data of over 95 million people. In a new 8K filing with the SEC, Progress Software says the SEC's Division of Enforcement will not recommend any enforcement action regarding the security incident. I'd love to see why. The SEC's notified Progress that it does not intend to recommend an enforcement action against the company at this time. Progress received a subpoena from the SEC on October 2nd of last year as part of a fact-finding inquiry seeking various documents and information related to the vulnerability. Obviously, that zero-day had immense impact. To see nothing taking place there is actually quite surprising. If you have not subscribed to our Substack or to our podcast, please make sure to do so now. Our growth and our reach is thanks to your support. So you can go to jamesazar.substack.com, subscribe there. You can also find us on YouTube and your favorite podcast listening platform. So please make sure to go give us a like there. We continue with an AWS discovering 6 critical vulnerabilities in services that could lead to remote code execution, data exfiltration, AI model manipulation, and even account takeovers. These were all revealed at Hacker Summer Camp today. But the researchers cautioned that vulnerabilities may exist in other AWS and open source services, so they offer general mitigation guidelines. AWS, for their end, are saying they're investigating if customers were affected by these vulnerabilities. The affected AWS services were CloudFormation, Glue, EMR, SageMaker, Service Catalog, and CodeStar. So if you're using any of those, you were likely experienced some set of vulnerabilities there, and you may want to check that. For their end, AWS is saying that the shadow resource attack vector is kind of a bit more detailed, and that's where they've discovered it. It involves AWS S3 buckets created to support various services, but they found a technique they named bucket monopoly that can significantly enhance the success rate of attacks exploiting shadow S3 bucket resources. They also discovered that attackers could set up buckets in an unused AWS region and wait for victims to use the CloudFormation service in a new region to use the attacker's controlled S3 bucket as part of a CloudFormation service. All in all, there is some mitigation there. One AWS resource account condition prevents a user or service role from accessing an untrusted bucket. Verify the expected bucket owner and naming S3 buckets all help mitigate that as well. If you're in the crypto space, you might want to pay attention to the next two stories. Gambling blockchain Ronin Network suffered a security incident when white hat hackers were able to exploit an undocumented vulnerability on the bridge to withdraw 4,000 Ethereum and 2 million USDC, totaling $12 million. The figure corresponds to the maximum amount that can be withdrawn from the bridge via a single transaction. They then informed Ronin Network about the exploit and returned the money. The bridge was paused for about 40 minutes for them to actually fix it. So all in all, there's that there, but obviously this falls into lapses. This falls into some of the challenges within crypto all in all. And then Nexera has fallen victim to a major breach, allegedly. Now they're saying that only $440,000 were effectively compromised, but the theft is more in the range of $1.5 million worth of Nexera tokens. The company said that that's not the case. Nexera, previously known as Alliance Block, is a DeFi protocol aiming to bridge DeFi with traditional finance. They've paused the Nexera token contract and halted trading on decentralized exchanges. The company said efforts are underway to communicate with centralized exchanges to suspend trading activities. All in all, the hack was initially detected by Cyverus on August 7th. In a post on X, the system had detected a suspicious transaction involving your proxy contract. An address took ownership of your proxy contract and upgraded it shortly after the address was used to withdraw admin function to transfer all Nexera tokens. The attack unfolded rapidly. Nexera responded to the attack, obviously kind of posting and giving out some information. But again, crypto remains a very, very vulnerable market. A congressional watchdog is calling on the EPA to urgently develop a strategy to address the rising risk of malicious activity targeting the nation's drinking and wastewater, according to a report from the U.S. Government Accountability Office. In recent months, the sector has been dealing with a whole lot more of the types of attacks, whether it be malware, ransomware, or either trying to sabotage, disable, or exfiltrate data. The EPA, which has no business doing anything in cyber. Why isn't this with CISO? Here's my rant. This is why government is so inefficient at what it does. This is the classic case of inefficiencies. The EPA has no business detailing cyber. There's an agency that was created for that reports to DHS. It's called CISA, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. Water is an infrastructure. Why is the EPA doing this? Like, I'm tired from talking about this. I really am. Government is so inefficient, and I don't care who is in government. This isn't about one administration or another. They all make this mistake. These federal agencies try to centralize power in order to keep a legitimate, hey, this is all the stuff we do. We don't need you to do that. Security should come from people who actually understand it and are able to provide solutions for these people. Instead, you're adding more regulation and audit, which in a way will get them to conform, but only to check the box, not to really do something. There's that. By the way, like, we haven't learned anything. You know, this wastewater attack all started with Iran targeting Israeli PLCs and HMIs that are available in a lot of systems. On Wednesday, the State Department said Hamid Humufael, Hamid Raza Lagarin, and a bunch of whole other Persians, part of the Iranians Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps hacking group, with a $10 million. Look, here's the deal to the State Department. Call up the guys at the Mossad that dropped a bomb on the Hamas leader. Say, hey, these 6 guys will pay you $10 million and give you a few more bombs if you find them, and just take care of it. I don't know. I think the Israelis have proven that they can get to anyone in Tehran, yet we post their pictures and say $10 million for anyone providing us information that will lead to their arrest or conviction. My God, dude, we're playing a game. We're not even on an even playing field here. It's just not there. It's not. It's absolutely ridiculous. So we need to pay someone $10 million so that Iranians will tell us where they are. Go figure. Go figure. Me, by the way, but like we're financing part of this, right? By removing sanctions on Iran, allowing Iran to do what Iran does. So we're in one way saying like bad. In another way, maybe let's talk. This is just broken policy. Really, really broken policy. That's it for the show today. We'll be back. Obviously, Hacker Summer Camp, great. I look forward to seeing more of you, obviously, during the day on Thursday. I hope everyone's having a great time. If you're not here and you feel like you're FOMO, a little bit, but not too much, the heat here is really, really difficult. So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe, follow, share, like, comment, and we'll see y'all on Monday when we're back in the studio, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. Till then, stay cyber safe and have a great weekend.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.